One ending scene changed everything at Dutton Ranch, and if you thought episode 9 was just another emotional chapter, think again. The final moments didn't just leave viewers shocked, they may have quietly revealed who is really in control, who is hiding the truth, and who could be heading straight toward disaster in episode 10. A single look, a few carefully chosen words, and the silence in that last scene all felt heavier than ever. It was the kind of ending that doesn't just close an episode, it opens a storm. And the biggest question now is simple, was this the moment the ranch started falling apart from the inside? Episode 9 of Dutton Ranch feels like the kind of chapter that changes the direction of the whole story. From the very beginning, there is a heavy feeling hanging over the ranch. Nobody seems fully at peace, nobody looks truly safe, and every conversation feels like it has a second meaning behind it. That is what makes this episode so important. It is not only about what happens on the surface. It is about the pressure building underneath every scene. It is about the way the family is being pushed from all sides, by outside enemies, by old wounds, and by the fear that the ranch may no longer be as strong as it once looked. Episode 9 works because it slowly builds that pressure until the ending finally hits, and once it does, it becomes clear that this story is no longer just about land or power. It is about survival, trust, and the cost of trying to hold everything together when the cracks are already spreading. Before we even get to the ending, episode 9 spends a lot of time showing us a ranch that feels tired, wounded, and dangerously divided. The people at the center of the story are no longer just fighting outsiders. They are fighting doubt, anger, and the consequences of everything that has happened in the earlier episodes. That is why the opening stretch of episode 9 matters so much. It reminds us that the biggest danger to the Dutton Ranch may not be one single enemy standing at the gate. It may be the pressure growing inside the family itself. Everyone is carrying something. Some are carrying guilt. Some are carrying fear. Some are carrying plans they do not want anyone else to know about. And as the episode moves forward, it becomes more and more obvious that these hidden feelings are starting to shape every decision. One of the smartest things about episode 9 is the way it makes ordinary scenes feel important. A short talk does not feel like just a talk. A quiet dinner does not feel calm. A character standing alone for a few seconds suddenly feels meaningful. The episode keeps telling us, without saying it directly, that something is wrong. The ranch is still standing, the family is still speaking, and the routine of daily life is still there, but emotionally, the ground underneath them is moving. That is what gives this episode its power. It does not rush straight into chaos. Instead, it lets the tension breathe. It lets us sit with the discomfort. It lets us watch these characters try to act normal while everything around them feels unstable. At the heart of this episode is the question of control. Who is actually in charge right now? On paper, the answer may seem obvious. But episode 9 makes that answer feel much less certain. Leadership at Dutton Ranch no longer looks simple. It no longer feels like one person making the decisions while everyone else follows. Instead, the ranch now feels like a place where authority is being tested from every direction. Every conversation becomes a quiet power struggle. Every disagreement feels like a sign that the old order may be weakening. Even moments that seem small at first begin to carry bigger meaning, because they show us how fragile the balance has become. A person who once obeyed without question may now hesitate. Someone who used to stay silent may now speak more boldly. Someone who looked loyal may now feel harder to read. Episode 9 keeps feeding. Us these little signs, and each one adds to the same idea. The ranch may still have a leader, but that does not mean everyone still believes in the same future. The emotional weight of the episode also comes from the way family relationships are handled. Dutton Ranch has always been built on loyalty, but episode 9 asks what happens when loyalty starts to hurt more than it protects. There is a feeling in this episode that love and duty are pulling the characters in opposite directions. Some people want to protect the ranch no matter the cost. Others may still care deeply, but they are beginning to wonder whether that cost has become too high. That conflict matters because it makes every relationship feel unstable. When two characters talk, the question is no longer just whether they care about each other. The question is whether they still believe in the same mission. If they do not, then even love becomes dangerous. Even trust becomes weak. And once trust starts to weaken in a story like this, the damage can spread fast. What makes episode 9 especially effective is how it uses silence. Silence in this episode says more than shouting ever could. There are moments when characters do not fully answer each other, and those missing words tell us everything. There are looks that last just a little too long, pauses that feel uncomfortable, and reactions that suggest people are thinking much more than they are willing to say out loud. In a show like Dutton Ranch, those quiet moments matter because they often point toward the real story. Anyone can make a threat in a loud scene. Anyone can say they are loyal in a heated speech. But when the room goes quiet, when someone avoids eye contact, when a person chooses not to say what is really on their mind, that is where the truth starts to appear. Episode 9 understands this perfectly. It trusts those quiet moments, and because of that, the episode feels tense even when very little is happening on the surface. Another important part of this first half of the episode is the way danger is presented. It is not always direct. It is not always physical. In fact, one of the most interesting things about episode 9 is that the threat often feels emotional before it feels violent. The danger comes from uncertainty. It comes from not knowing who is making plans in secret. It comes from the feeling that someone may be one step ahead while the rest of the family is still trying to understand what is happening. That kind of danger can be even more powerful than a direct attack, because it creates fear in every scene. A character can walk into a room and the audience immediately wonders, what do they know, what are they hiding, and what are they about to do next? Episode 9 builds suspense through that uncertainty, and it works because the show understands that fear is stronger when it grows slowly. The ranch itself also feels different in episode 9. It no longer feels only like a home or a symbol of legacy. It starts to feel like a battlefield, even in moments where nobody is openly fighting. Every room feels loaded with memory. Every conversation feels connected to old pain. Every choice feels connected to the future of the land. The ranch becomes more than a setting here. It becomes a pressure point. It is the thing everyone is trying to protect, control, or possibly escape from. And because of that, the ranch almost feels like another character in the episode, wounded, valuable, and constantly at the center of conflict. This matters because the emotional connection to the land is what gives every argument its deeper meaning. People are not only arguing about a decision. They are arguing about identity, history, and the right to shape what comes next. As episode 9 moves deeper into its story, another layer begins to show itself, fear of change. This may be one of the most important ideas in the episode.